Moin!
Moin, and welcome to the channel Moin, where we explore language-related topics. Sometimes we deal with language and culture in general, but most of the time our starting point is within the Germanic branch. Yes, English is a Germanic language, and we include language varieties that are little known and mostly ignored by others. Today, I invite you to come along on a little guided discovery tour around town. This exploration is for you if you're interested in the origin of words and their meanings, and in what they tell us about cultural history and our ancestors' perception of the world. We'll pick familiar words along the way, look at the cognates in related languages, and try to trace them back as far as we can to discover the original meanings. On the way, we'll encounter lots of shifts in meaning. The technical term is semantic shift. Hopefully, you'll come away from this with a deeper understanding of simple words you use pretty much every day. Please let me know in the comments if you find this interesting or even exciting. At least leave a thumbs up, better still, subscribe. This will let me know that this has series potential. Some terminology explanation before we set off. Etymology is simply word history. And a cognate is a related word in another language. Reconstructing a word means inferring a form for which no direct written evidence survives, based on evidence from related languages. A reconstructed form is marked with an asterisk. Off we go. Let's start with a simple word, one that describes where we go on our stroll. Town. In earlier times, this word meant group of houses, village, or simply farm. The Scots cognate tun still has all these meanings. And what about its relatives in other Germanic languages? In most Low Saxon, Low German varieties, tun means fence, as does its German cognate Zaun. But when we look at the Low Saxon varieties of Groningen and Drenthe in the eastern Netherlands, we find that tun can mean not only fence, but also fenced-in area or enclosure. Just a little farther west, we encounter West Frisian tun, Dutch tuin, and, derived from Dutch, Afrikaans tuin, all meaning garden. And what is a garden after all? A fenced-in area, right? Aha! In North Germanic too, we find Old Norse, Icelandic, and Faroese tun, as well as Norwegian tun, all referring to an enclosed field, farmyard, or farm plot. Now the pieces are beginning to fit together. Linguists reconstruct Proto-West Germanic tun, and further back Proto-Germanic tuno, with the probable meaning fenced area or enclosure. In Old Saxon tun and Old German zun, the meaning eventually shifted from the enclosed area to the fence itself. In English, meanwhile, the meaning shifted in a different direction, from enclosure to farm, then to village, and finally to town. Outside Germanic, but still within the Indo-European language family, we find cognates among the Celtic languages. Proto-Celtic, dunum. Irish, dún. Scottish, dún. Manx, dún. Welsh, din. Cornish, din. Breton, din. You still find some of them in Celtic place names. Their meaning is fort. Proto-Slavic tunu and most of its descendants have also made the shift to fence or palisade. But Czech teen didn't. It means enclosed place. All this is generally thought to derive from the Proto-Indo-European root deu, meaning something like to enclose. And what do we find in a European town with a lot of history? At least one gate. But we also find streets, lanes, and alleys, and they may lead through gates. Guess what? They are related. What do all of those things have in common? They are passageways. Look at some of the cognates. Opening gate, passage, Old English get, Old Saxon gut, Old Frisian gut, Old Dutch gat, Old Norse gatte, Low Saxon gut, Dutch gat. Passageway, narrow street, footpath. Old German Gasse, German Gasse, Yiddish Gass, Danish Gade, Norwegian Gotte, Swedish Gotta, Faroese Göta, Icelandic Gota. All these point to Proto-Germanic gaton, hole, opening, and Proto-Indo-European geh, to gape, yawn. And those are related to Low Saxon gapen, to gawk, to yawn. Dutch gape, to gawk, to yawn. German gaffen, to gawk. And, of course, English has the related words gape and gap. By the way, Low Saxon gat and Dutch got colloquially also share the additional meaning backside. You get my polite meaning. And what do we find along streets and lanes? Many a shop. Yes, that's a place that offers things for sale, maybe even made on the premises in a workshop, the way it mostly used to be. Scots has shop with the same meaning. Old English shoppa means stall or booth. Makes sense, doesn't it? The ancestors of shops were things like stalls, and you still find those at street markets. But what about cognates in related languages? Low Saxon has shap, meaning cabinet or cupboard, and the same goes for North Germanic. Norwegian skop, Swedish skop, Danish skab, Faroese and Icelandic skalper. With the same meaning, some German dialects preserve schaffe, and Yiddish has corresponding schaffe. So, are we talking about some sort of box as a common meaning? Well, the Dutch cognate schap means shelf. That's not a box. Old Norse has skop, meaning form, arrangement. And then there are Low Saxon schappen and German schaffen, meaning to create. Similarly, Norwegian skape, Danish skave, and Swedish, Faroese, and Icelandic skapa. Proto-Germanic has skapon, which probably referred to something fashioned or put together, and English shape belongs here too. In fact, there is even the possibility that shop, shape, and ship ultimately go back to the same source. And what was needed in an old-time building? Beams, of course. What else would hold up the weight of roofs, ceilings, and decks? Beam. That's another interesting word for us to dig into. In the sense of rafter, purlin, or ship's timber, it's unique to English. The meaning of ray of light came later. Let's look at some cognates. Low Saxon Baum, Dutch Boom, Afrikaans Boom, German Baum, Yiddish Baum or Boim, all mean tree. West Frisian Berm is the link. It can mean tree, but also beam, as does Old Frisian Baum and Old English Berm. But why did modern English beam lose the meaning of tree? We can blame the Scandinavians that settled in medieval Britain. Lots of Scandinavian words entered English at that time, among them tre, the ancestor of all North Germanic words for tree. All these words, including Old Saxon trio, could mean both tree and beam, even gallows or mast. But English split the meaning. Oh, and the nautical English term boom came from Middle Dutch, where it could mean not only tree, but also pole and beam. A lot of shifting, isn't it? Talking about trees and wooden building material, there's the word timber. It has interesting cognates in related languages. West Frisian timber has the same meaning, but in Old Frisian it also meant building, which is shared with Old German Zimmer. The same goes for Old English timber, which in addition could denote wooded area or forest. This meaning still exists in two American words for animals, timber wolf and the colloquial name timberdoodle for woodcock. Old Saxon timber specifically referred to carpentry. In extension, there are the verbs timbrion and timbron for to construct with wood. Modern equivalents are Low Saxon timmern, Dutch timmeren, German zimmern, Danish tømre, Norwegian tømre, and Swedish timbra. Faroese and Icelandic generalize the meaning of timbra to construct. English has in fact kept up with its Germanic relatives. There's the verb to timber, but it's rarely used now. It's more common to say to carpenter or to do carpentry, which goes back to a Gaulish word borrowed via Latin and Anglo-Norman. Originally this meant to make carts, and that activity is also the one a cartwright used to perform. See, meaning shifting all over the place. Oh, and you may know the term half-timbered in connection with old-time North European buildings. The modern German noun Zimmer specifically denotes room or chamber, so we are back to names for material becoming names for things made from the material. In this case, the source is Proto-Germanic tembra or temra, probably meaning something like a constructed shelter. And farther back, we have the Indo-European root dim, with a similar meaning. Outside Germanic, this developed into ancient Greek domos, Latin domus, Sanskrit damach, Russian dom, and Ukrainian dim, all meaning house or home. Which do you think came first, the wood or the thing made from it? Leave a comment. As our little tour needs its end, we're thinking of getting back home to our warm rooms and enjoying something warm and yummy made on the stove. Now, there's another interesting word. Nowadays, it makes us think of a modern stovetop. But originally, a stove was not only something to cook on, but also something that heated the home, or at least one room when fuel was limited. It started off as an open wood fireplace, typically in the middle of a room. Coal, gas, and electricity came later. Especially in cool climates, family life used to revolve around the fireplace. Everyone huddled around it. But actually, the meaning of stove as a source of heat and a place for cooking is pretty recent. Old English herd covered that, from which hearth developed. The English word stove has been known only since the 15th century, and at that time is supposed to have been borrowed either from Dutch or Low Saxon stove, whose meaning is heated room. In fact, today's Low Saxon has Stube and Stuv, and German has Stube, all meaning room, especially living room, formerly the only heated room in a home. Now get this, Old English had the related word stuva, meaning bathroom, originally probably a heated one, but this word fell by the wayside long before the 16th century. Many people believe that the word stew is related to all of this. And look at Scott's stove, capturing it all and more. And as a verb, it means to stew or to emit steam. Low Saxon has stoven and Dutch has stove, verbs meaning to steam or stew food, and German borrowed it from Low Saxon. As you can see, originally not only heat, but also steam was involved. Some connect this with vulgar Latin extufare, to steam, and modern Romance varieties for to stew, such as Italian stufare, Spanish estufar, Portuguese estufar, and Catalan and Occitan estufar. Well, what do you think? Although our physical town stroll was brief, we ventured far afield in the wide world of words, following shifting paths of meaning and getting close to various sources. That's the joy of etymology. It's not just about language itself, but about what words, even simple words, can teach us about cultural and technological history, about the way our early ancestors perceived the world around them. Please let me know in the comments if you would like to come with me on future strolls. And don't hesitate to suggest words you're curious about. Thanks for having watched this video till the end. See you next time. Keep being inquisitive.